The World Cup, it's back in the US for the first time in decades. But hotels, they're filled with empty rooms, tickets, they're not selling, and everyone from players to fans to stadium workers, they're on edge. And it's largely thanks to Donald Trump and his immigration crackdown. But it's all set to start on Thursday, and in addition to the United States, you have games being played in Canada and Mexico. But many fans from dozens of countries, including 4 playing in the tournament, they have almost no shot of seeing the games in the United States thanks to Trump's travel bans and other restrictions. In fact, a referee from Somalia, one of 52 people chosen to officiate the World Cup and one of only 7 from Africa, he was denied entry into the US as well. He reportedly arrived in Miami over the weekend, but was taken aside, questioned overnight, kept in a holding cell for several more hours, and then put on a flight. With US Customs and Border Protection saying in a statement that he had been, quote, determined to be inadmissible due to vetting concerns without then elaborating. But you then also had the ref claiming that he had the right papers and the right visa, telling the New York Times, I think that they have a problem with my country. Which, yeah, may not be entirely off base. In his administration, they've seriously restricted travel and immigration from Somalia, and Trump himself has also disparaged Somali immigrants with racist attacks. Though then that's also as our Pentagon's been working with Somalia's government to launch airstrikes against militant groups in their country. And that also, I'll say, is not the only, we'll call it, I guess, complicated relationship on display with this event. Right, you have Iran competing, which I also think makes it the first men's football World Cup in which the host nation welcomes a team of a country that they are at war with. The welcome might not be the right word, or maybe it's too strong of a word, because for months, it wasn't even clear whether the Iranian team would be allowed it. But then last week, they finally got their visas, just 10 days before the first match is scheduled in LA. Though also at the same time, more than a dozen members of the team's support staff were denied entry, with an Iranian embassy official slamming what they call deliberate and discriminatory treatment and calling for FIFA to hold the US accountable for violations of its rules. So there you had a US official telling Reuters that the administration had issued the visas necessary for Iran to compete in the World Cup. But then also beyond difficulties for foreign fans and players entering the US, there are also fears about what they might experience while here. You've got more than 120 advocacy groups in the US having issued an advisory warning visitors that they risk serious rights violations, including arbitrary denial of entry and risk of arrest, detention, and/or deportation, violent and unconstitutional immigration enforcement, including racial profiling and cruel, inhuman, or degrading treatment, and even death while in ICE detention or custody. And on top of that, even fans who live in the US, they're worried that ICE is going to carry out arrests in and around the stadium. And that's a concern you're even seeing with people that are working at these venues, which is actually part of the reason why you have some stadium workers as well as hotel workers threatening to go on strike. And that includes workers in Seattle where 6 games are held and more than 2,000 workers at SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles, which is going to host 8 matches. And along with higher pay and better employment protections, they're asking for guarantees that ICE will not be allowed to conduct deportation operations inside or outside of the venue. This is coming after the union in LA, along with the ACLU of Southern California and other local advocacy groups, filed a complaint with the state over FIFA's policy requiring people to share immigration information in order to work. And then because all of these concerns and these fears, there are concerns and fears that the economic benefits from the World Cup coming to town, they're going to be dampened. You have 80% of hotel owners and managers and host cities saying that they're booking fewer rooms than expected, according to a survey by the American Hotel and Lodging Association. 65 to 70%, they say that visa barriers and broader geopolitical concerns are significantly suppressing international demand. And at least as of yesterday, tickets for the US team's opening match still have not sold out. You had FIFA's website showing more than 100 tickets still available and third-party resale platforms showing thousands more still in stock. So there, I'll also say that part of that might have to do with the record-breaking costs of the tickets. The most expensive regular seats for the US's opening game, for example, they're priced at nearly $3,000. That's more than the final cost of the 2022 World Cup final. Well, the cheapest, they're a little over $1,000. You even had our now billionaire president saying he wouldn't pay those prices, telling the New York Post last month, I would certainly like to be there, but I wouldn't pay it either, to be honest with you. Now, with everything that we've talked about here, I will note that you've had some local organizers and officials, including in California, claiming that immigration agents, they're only going to be helping out with general security. But the administration's response has not been all that reassured. Or the Department of Homeland Security saying in one statement that it would work with federal and local partners, quote, in line with federal law and the US Constitution, as we do with every major sporting event. And adding, international visitors who legally come to the United States for the World Cup have nothing to worry about. What makes someone a target for immigration enforcement is whether or not they are illegally in the US, full stop. But of course, you have many not taking them at their word, especially because there are plenty of people that are in this country that legally have been swept up in Trump's immigration crackdown. And that includes citizens and permanent residents. And the way that ICE is based, like if someone's legal or not, has been the way that they look, the language they speak, and the work that they do, especially because the conservative Supreme Court effectively gave them the green light. Plus, even as some DHS statements have suggested that agents are going to be focused on criminal activity, the White House has repeatedly cast undocumented immigrants as criminals, even when they haven't been convicted or even charged with any crimes. And just this week, you had border czar Tom Homan saying that he looked over a plan to send more ICE agents than you've ever seen to New York City, his words, which is also jointly hosting some World Cup matches with New Jersey. Though there, I'll note that the timing might just be overlapping. Homan, he's repeatedly threatened to send more ICE agents to New York for weeks. And it actually appears largely over a bill that Governor Kathy Hochul signed into law at the end of last month, which barred state and local law enforcement from working with immigration in state jails. And so we're gonna have to see if he follows through this time, but also in the meantime, you had New York City Mayor Zoran Zoran Mamdani, vowing that his administration will not take an ICE invasion laying down. Writing on Twitter, soccer would not exist without immigrants. Immigrants play and coach the game, work in the stadiums, fill the stands, and make celebrations like the World Cup possible. 6 of the players on the US men's national team are immigrants. And adding, we will not allow ICE or anyone else to sow fear in our communities, especially at this moment. As the world comes to our city, we will stand proudly with our immigrant neighbors and reject these attacks for what they are, an attempt to divide us.